Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome to Rock Video Rental. I am Brandon. With me, as always, is Caleb. And we are talking about Back to the Future 3 for Back to the Future month. But before we get to the movie, we are going to talk about what we've watched this week. And Caleb, what do you got?
Oh, life's been busy, but I did watch something a little bit different. Not new, but a little bit different. Family Guy is back out putting episodes. Did you know that?
No, I did not.
Yeah, so their most recent episode was Top Gun Maverick knockoff.
Okay.
Not it's not like it used to be, but it had its moments, so
Okay.
um I mean, because they've touched on Top Gun before and they make fun of Tom Cruise plenty enough. So,
Yeah.
but yeah, I was a little surprised to see that pop up on my information on being like new episodes. I was like, oh dang, I didn't even know.
Rock?
So that was really it. Um,
Okay.
so not a lot for me.
I got a decent amount. They released the last bunch of episodes for Cobra Kai.
Oh yeah,
So, series finale. I
rock.
won't ruin anything for you, but I thought it was pretty good. Especially the last three episodes were really good. So,
Did you cry? You cried, didn't you?
no, I did not. I was pretty sad though that the show's done.
You're gonna miss all
And
those
it was,
child actors and actresses that were so amazing.
yeah. Oh man. I don't know. I hope William Zabka gets more work now.
I hope so too.
If he
That'd be cool.
wants it. Yeah. I
Yeah.
mean, because he was so great in that show.
I don't care if he wants it or not. I want him to do
I'm gonna make movies and cast him, and he has to be in them.
it.
Oh man. Along with that, the show Yellow Jackets came back. That caught me off guard. Um, they dropped like two episodes in one day.
Oh,
So yeah, I
isn't
watched those.
is that in the like I don't really know much about it, but is that in like the final season or something or
No, I don't think so. At least
oh
I
okay.
don't. It's only in its third season,
Maybe it's a different show I was thinking of.
but I don't know. The cast in that's so good. Um, Christina Ricci's character in that is just hilarious. I don't know. She's like so quirky and weird.
Hmm.
And like, I don't think anybody else could have really played that character. And like her on again, off again boyfriend is Elijah Wood, who I mean we all know can play someone as quirky and weird as well.
That's funny.
So they're just like a funny couple. But yeah, I really enjoy that show. I'm waiting for the third episode to come out, which should be coming out, gosh, relatively soon. But I also watched some episodes of Dark Side of the Ring. I don't know, those are just something good to have on in the background. Even though a lot of the episodes are sad, still just something to have pay super close attention to.
Hmm.
And along the lines of that, I was also watching that '70s show for just like background noise,
Rock.
but something I've seen a million times, so not a huge deal. And then last, I watched the new movie, The Last Showgirl. It's got Pamela Anderson, um, Jamie Lee Curtis, and Dave Bautista in it.
Okay.
I don't know if you've seen anything about that.
No.
Like Pamela Anderson plays this Vegas like showgirl, and she's like in her 50s and still doing the same show she's been doing since she was like 20, and they decided that they're gonna cancel the show and replace it with something else. So then she like tries to find different work, and like basically she can't because she hasn't really done anything else with her like life, I guess.
Hmm.
So she's not really qualified for anything, and she's too old to be doing like dancing shows in Vegas. So it's a little bit of a downer, but like, man, I don't know what's happened to Pamela Anderson lately. Like, she was really good in that
Huh.
because I don't remember her being the greatest actress. But I don't know. She's got like this whole thing going on now. I don't know if you've seen her like, um, just like in the media and stuff. She's got this thing going on now where she's like against wearing makeup and everything. She's
Okay.
more about like just people should be happy with themselves and age naturally and not cover anything up
Hmm.
kind of thing. I don't know. It's kind of like she's got kind of an interesting outlook and personality about
Okay.
stuff now. And it's just kind of commendable, I guess. And I guess like her and Jamie Lee Curtis became good friends in that movie, and I can kind of see that, which is way their both their attitudes are now.
Okay.
But and I mean Jamie Lee Curtis is good in everything. And Batista's usually good in everything. He was good in this. But yeah, it's definitely worth a watch. I thought the ending was a little clunky, but the movie really reminded me of The Wrestler,
Okay.
the Mickey Rourke movie,
Hmm.
except that she wasn't really like super self-destructive like he was. But yeah, had some similarities, but it was definitely worth a watch. So check it out. I I'm not sure, but I think it might be getting some Academy Award buzz, but I don't know if it's on the ballot or not. But I thought I heard talk about that. But yeah, that's pretty much it for me. I also got a chance to watch Back to the Future 3 for the first time in probably, I don't know, 10, 15 years. So let's talk about it. Back to the Future Part 3. It is from 1990 and is directed by Robert Zemeckis. The plot is stranded in 1955. Marty McFly learns about the death of Doc Brown in 1885 and must travel back in time to save him. With no fuel readily available for the DeLorean, the two must figure out how to escape the Old West before Emmett is murdered. The cast, we got Michael J. Fox as Marty, Christopher Lloyd as Doc, Mary Steenburgen as Clara, Tom Wilson as Mad Dog, Leah Thompson as Maggie McFly, and Elizabeth Shue as Jennifer. Yeah, there was a few things about this movie that I didn't remember.
Okay. What was
Yeah.
that?
The whole thing with like Marty's great great grandfather. I
Okay.
didn't remember him like staying with basically I don't remember Michael J. Fox being in this movie as two different characters, I guess.
Hmm.
And then I don't remember Leah Thompson, which I got questions about that. So,
I've got notes. Yeah.
okay. So his dad is George McFly, right?
Okay.
And he marries Leah Thompson in the after they meet in the 50s,
Yeah.
right? And so why does this like great 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 grandmother look just like her mom?
Right. No,
Is Marty an incest baby?
I had that down too. I was just like, they're not making this add up right.
No, not at all.
Um, it I don't I understand what they were going for from the whole like each movie he goes unconscious and he wakes up and it's always his mom,
Yeah.
but it definitely should not have been like that. Like I
Like why
don't
couldn't it have been like, oh, she's a Baines, you know? Then it would have made sense.
she's a what?
A Baines? Because she was Lorraine Baines
Oh yeah, yeah.
in the
Well,
first movie. So it could have been like she's a neighbor of the McFlys or something.
yes, yes, I see what. Yeah, that's what I was gonna say
And then
too.
he could have met his great great grandfather and his wife, and it would have
Yeah.
made way more sense.
Hmm. And then they could have really screwed with you, and they could have made his wife Elizabeth Shue, and then he questions that if he's having incest relations with his girlfriend.
Oh my God. No, what they could have got is the original Jennifer.
Oh, that would have been funny.
Yeah. Whose
Uh,
name escapes me right now.
yeah. No,
But
they. I really do not understand how they came to the conclusion that this was a good idea.
yeah, I'm not quite sure either. Maybe I'm overthinking it, but I mean, it's hard to not go there.
Yeah. Maybe incest was more acceptable in the 80s and early 90s.
And maybe in the 1880s.
We were too young to know at the time.
Oh man. That was one of the things that I really questioned in this, and like I said, didn't really truly remember. Um, I really liked the part at the beginning, where Marty goes and finds 1955 Doc again,
Hmm.
and they read the letter, and basically the letter is saying, like, Marty, I am in 1885. Don't come for me. Go back to 1985, Doc. That's basically what it is. Like, I left the DeLorean here, go get it, rebuild it with 1955 me, which I also have questions about. Like, why? So, if Doc went back to 1885 and he's living there and he gets killed by Biff's ancestor,
Hmm.
how is 1955 Doc there?
Okay, so I can explain this. All right, with my time travel understanding. Okay, so if you it's a messed up line, but so let's say, gosh, I don't even know. Just for simple terms, let's say Doc's 55 in 1955, okay?
Okay.
Um, when Doc goes back to the Old West, he's technically 1985 Doc. So
Okay.
he's 85 years old. So the reason why if he died in the Old West in 55 he would still be alive is because he's the younger Doc who has not yet gotten to that stage in his life where he gets killed.
Okay.
So really that doesn't mess up the timeline at all because he's not that old yet.
Okay.
So yeah, it is a little bit weird, but it doesn't really mess anything up. I do have questions though, since we're kind of like throwing around the questions of like how does this exactly work out?
Mm-hmm.
Um, when he died, or when they discovered that Doc died, he got shot in the back because the whole
Yeah.
thing, blah blah blah. On his tombstone, it said that he was survived by his loving Clara or whatever.
Yeah.
Okay.
Why would it say that on a tombstone?
Yeah, well, questionable on why would it say on Tombstone. But besides that, when Marty did go back to 1885 and he was with Doc and
Mm-hmm.
they rescued her, she was supposed to die.
Yeah.
And she was supposed to, like, they called a ravine after her, like the story that Marty was saying about how the school kids called it like the whatever ravine, and we're just thinking of all the teachers that they would have liked to see fall in the ravine or whatnot.
Mm-hmm.
So how is it that they knew those stories, but she was supposed to die in the ravine, and yet somehow she was in a loving relationship with Doc?
Yeah, I get what you're saying.
Like they because the way they made it sound was that the reason she lived was because Marty and Doc were there together, because they were doing things to get ready for the time travel thing.
Mm-hmm.
They would not have been doing things to get ready for the time travel thing if Marty
Marty
wasn't
would have not.
there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
So she would have rode off on her own. Doc would have never met her and she would have died.
Yeah.
So there's that a huge disconnect there. Huge disconnect.
Also, the fact it says like survived by his loving wife and Clara, like
Well,
they
I don't,
wouldn't put that on a headstone because what happens when she dies? Then they have to redo his headstone?
right? That's
An
something that you'd
obituary,
see in
basically.
that's like an obituary thing that you would
Yeah.
see. I don't think they said wife specifically though, but they
Okay.
did say loving Clara. Um,
Yeah. Where, you know, it would say loving husband or something like that.
yeah.
Because I've seen that on headstones before, but not survived by.
Yeah. Maybe it's a
Yeah.
thing that was more popular at one point in time, but I don't know. I've never really noticed that. Not that I
Yeah, I
hang
don't
out
know.
in cemeteries all that much, but
You're recording this right now from a cemetery.
oh, look at that one.
Oh man.
So talking about characters, talking about plot holes and things like that. One thing
Hmm.
that I definitely want to say on the subject of characters for this
Hmm.
is I think this is the movie that Tom Wilson as Biff or Buford or what all the different characters really shines the most.
Yeah.
I think he's great in all of them, but I think when you get to see his range and how well he commits to and everything, I think this just like solidify. I think it helps you know and appreciate the character more, and also the actor and his range.
Yeah. I would agree with that. I could have done. They could have added some more of them in there. I
Yeah,
felt like this movie was a little rushed.
yeah, I would agree.
I thought the character of Clara, like, I remember it being her being a bigger deal, I guess,
Hmm.
where she's really not even around all that much, and her character is very like one-dimensional,
Yeah,
kind of blah and a little annoying at the end of the movie.
a little bit.
I mean, nothing against Mary Steenburgen. I thought she did a good job with what she was given, but yeah, the character was just kind of there.
You know what this means though
What?
in the continuity and like the movie universe as a whole. Okay. All right, you
Yeah,
ready for this?
yeah.
Step Brothers, Brennan's dad could have been Doc Brown.
Could you imagine Christopher Lloyd and Step Brothers? That probably would have been pretty awesome.
That probably would have been pretty crazy.
Yeah. I mean, he doesn't do very much anymore, but anytime he did anything, even in small roles, he was always great.
Great Scott, Brennan, you idiot.
But he said he wants to take over the family business. But you're a medical doctor. I know, we've talked about it.
He thinks his dad is a time traveler.
He just says it's all on who you know. Oh man. Oh god, I could go on and forever about Step Brothers, but
Oh yeah.
one thing I laughed about with Mary Steenburgen is she had like a 1990s Yarmer Yager mullet in
Oh
this
yeah.
movie. Like curly poodle-headed mullet, and it was hilarious.
Nice.
You could really see it when she's like riding on a horse and it's blowing in the wind.
Oh, that makes me think of a couple things. I, you've seen we haven't really talked about it in each of the movies, but in this one, especially with the horseback riding, you got to see some pretty obvious stunt doubles. One
Most definitely.
she had one really in particular when she was on the horse that I just kind of thought was pretty funny.
Yeah, Doc had a couple too
Yeah.
that were pretty obvious. Oh man. Um, I mean, again, third time in a row, the great part of it is just the chemistry between Christopher Lloyd and Michael J. Fox.
Yeah.
That's really the best part. I thought this one though had some lines that stuck out to me more than the other movies did.
Okay.
Uh, when Doc and Clara break up and he's like explains to her I'm from the future and she gets pissed because she thinks that he's just lying to her. He walks into the bar and he sits down and um the bartender's just like, Emmett, I'm surprised to see you. He's like, do you want your normal? He's like, no, I'll take something a little stronger than a normal this time. And he's like, so, sarsaparilla, which is basically just root beer. And he says, no, whiskey. And he's like, are you sure? Do you remember what happened on 4th of July? And then uh Doc's like cut away to like what Marty's doing, and then I go back to Doc and he's like talking like he's hammered and telling these crazy stories about the future and like the three barflies sitting at the table are just like, "Oh yeah, sure, whatever. You're from the future, blah blah blah," and laughing it up and everything. And they're like, "How much has he had? None. That's the first one. He just likes holding them." That cracked me up.
Yeah.
Uh,
Well, I'm glad that you brought up the three barflies.
yeah,
Were you gonna say anything about them at any point, or?
yeah, they were all in like John Wayne movies.
Okay, well, um, did you recognize any of them from like in any other way?
I don't know, the guy with the funny voice.
Yes. Yeah, Pat
He,
Buttram.
yeah, he's been in tons of stuff.
Oh man.
He always played a drunk too. I mean, when he was in one of the John Wayne movies I've seen with my dad numerous times.
Yeah, no, he as soon as I heard that voice, I was like, "Oh my gosh, it's that guy."
Yeah,
Um,
and he did lots of like voiceover work. I mean,
oh
with a
yeah.
voice like that, you had to do voiceover stuff.
So much. Like I don't even know like I'm having a hard time remembering exactly what it was, but he's got a slew of animated movies that he
I
did.
feel like he did the voice of a dog in one of the Disney movies.
Yeah, I thought it was 101 Dalmatians, but I tried looking it up and I couldn't
Was it
confirm
Fox
that.
and the Hound?
Maybe it was Fox and the Hound. I think he was in A Voice in Aristocrats too.
Okay.
But yeah, no, he just like,
He could have been a dog in Aristocats too.
yeah, he that voice though, just, I mean, instant childhood memories.
He was the voice of Chief in Fox and the Hound, the old dog.
Okay,
And he was also the sheriff of Nottingham in Robin Hood.
there we go. That I
Yeah.
think was one of the key ones.
He was also the voice of the Possum Park MC from a Goofy movie, which is a movie I've seen plenty of times as a kid, especially.
That's awesome.
But yeah, he's definitely one of those guys you hear his voice and you're like, oh yeah.
Oh my gosh,
But
it's
yeah,
Robert Loggia.
that's R as in Robert Lucia. Oh gosh. Other things in this. The when Marty first is getting ready to go back to 1885 and to go to that awesome drive-in with the backdrop that's like desert.
Mm-hmm.
And then up by the stage there's that mural of is it a bunch of Native Americans?
Yeah,
Something
riding
like
on
that.
horses and
I
stuff.
would would it be to see an old Western at that drive-in theater?
Right.
Like that's the first movie that popped in my head is The Searchers, the John Wayne movie. Just because of like the sprawling landscapes in it and stuff, and you're basically like right in the heart of what the movie takes place in.
Yeah.
It would just be an awesome place to see a Western movie. Um, the Doc has Marty like dressed up in this pink frilly shirt, and
Yeah.
he's like, "Are you sure this is correct?" He's like, "Yeah, that's what they wore at that time." And he's like, "I don't know. Clint Eastwood never wore anything like this." And Doc's like, "Who's Clint Eastwood?" And Marty turns and looks, and there's posters for movies on the side of this building, right?
Mm-hmm.
And one of them is Return of the or Revenge of the Creature or Return of the Creature or something like that. It's either the second or third Creature from the Black Lagoon movie, and that was one of Clint Eastwood's first movies.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it was. I think it's like Revenge of the Creature and then The Creature Walks Among Us. I think are like the two sequels.
Mm.
Yeah, The Creature Walks Among Us is basically just Jaws 3 because the
Okay.
creature's like put in SeaWorld
Oh,
and then
Revenge. Yeah,
things go awry.
Revenge of the Creature.
Yeah.
And ironically enough, his first movie appearances all came out in 1955. He had four different movies that he was
Oh,
in.
that's hilarious. Uh,
So,
yeah, so he wouldn't have been known at that time.
yeah, no. And I loved the
Um,
fact too, of course, when he goes back, Marty decides to go by the name Clint Eastwood.
yeah. And what would he put? Goes, he goes in a DeLorean, drives towards the screen, and he's transported back to 1855. And like all of a sudden this big group of Native Americans is running at him, and he's like, "Ah, Indians!"
Yeah, well, the part that I thought was kind of the funniest of that whole thing is the continuity between like he was practically going to run into one of them.
Hmm.
Then he like punches in reverse and somehow is out driving them, has enough
Yeah,
time to turn around, and then he goes and has, yeah, just like if you watch the sequence and kind of like keep track of the spacing of everything, it's really clunky. I mean, not being nitpicky or anything, but it did make me chuckle a little bit at how they prolonged that scene out.
yeah. And then there just happens to be like a cave for him to park the DeLorean in.
Well, now I do remember that Doc told him about the cave
Okay.
because he said that that was part of the reason why they were where they were, where he's just like, hey, you should be able to go back.
Okay.
You should be able to hide the DeLorean in the cave, and then you can walk to town.
Okay.
So,
Yeah, because I remember they said it was kind of a long walk,
yeah,
and that's when he comes across his ancestors.
his incest ancestors.
Incestors. uh, and then we beat Mad Dog Tannen too, who, if you would have told me that was a different actor, I would have believed you.
Yeah.
Because, like, with the makeup and the beard and all the stuff, he did not look like Biff at all.
Hmm.
But yeah, another great job by Thomas Wilson. And also we get Mr. Strickland as the marshal.
Yeah. Perfect.
Yeah. Oh gosh. So now they get to the trying to get Marty back, and it's like, oh, he's got to get back before um Mad Dog shoots Doc, and they're like, how can we get this? Dude, we have no fuel because the fuel line breaks for the DeLorean,
Hmm.
and there's nothing that goes 88 miles an hour back in 1855. So they come up with the idea of hijacking a train, and then Doc makes like a super fuel to throw into the boiler, and it goes off at like different intervals. And then, of course, Clara tries to come back and racing with the train, and like, oh, I've got to save her. And Doc saves her, and Marty ends up going back to nine.
1985.
Yeah. Um, and then it's like, oh man, what happened to Doc? Like, is there like, did Doc die basically? But then, or like, is Doc just stuck in 1885? And uh, I think it's hilarious where well, I guess Doc gets saved because Marty gives him the hoverboard,
Hmm.
right? So once he gets back to 1985, now the ravine's not named after Clara. It's called the Eastwood Ravine. Did you notice that?
Yeah, I did notice
The
that.
sign? Yeah, it made me laugh. Uh, so he gets out of the DeLorean, and then a train comes flying. So he like takes off, and it just completely destroys the DeLorean.
Hmm.
Uh, so that was like their plan too. It's like once I get back to where I'm supposed to be, we're gonna destroy this. Before anything else gets ruined or whatever. Um, and then it's funny because you see Biff's still like this pushover bitch for the McFly family.
Yeah, everything goes back to quote unquote normal, kind of.
Yeah, the way it was at the end of the first movie.
Hmm.
Um, and then Marty gets in his truck with, and he goes and gets Jennifer, who they just dumped on the front porch.
Yeah.
And she just like wakes up at the perfect time there when Marty's there. And then he gets challenged to a race by Flea from Red Hot Chili Peppers. And he was like warned about, oh, this is how your life took a downward spiral, like in part two, because of this crash you had in this race. And so Marty refuses to race him, and he sees like what would have happened if he did. And so basically, he just like fixed what happens in the future.
Mhm.
Yeah. Then they go to the crash site, which still hasn't been cleaned up
It was still
or
the
brought
same
in any
day.
cops.
It was still the
Yeah,
same
but
day.
there's no cops.
Yeah, no.
Like this train hit this car, exploded it all over the place. Wouldn't the conductor be like calling the cops or at least
No.
stop?
No. Wouldn't make too much sense.
Right? And then while they're looking at the wreckage and everything, um, Marty gets like this framed picture of him and Doc in front of that clock back in the Old West. And then a train shows up with Doc on it with Clara and their kids.
Hmm.
And then there's the infamous scene behind Doc when he's talking to Marty of Doc's son. Looks like he's waving at someone and then he points at his crotch.
Oh yeah, I forgot to look for
Yeah.
that.
And everybody's like, oh, what does this mean? What does that mean? I'm like, to me, it was pretty obvious that it's a kid actor telling someone off camera that he has to go to the bathroom.
Yeah. No, that's hilarious. I forgot to look for that this time.
Yeah. And then Doc takes off.
Yeah. I love how Doc does whatever he wants while he tells everyone else what to do.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Don't
because
change anything, Marty. I'm going to bring this woman back from the Old West.
yeah, don't change anything, Marty. Like you can't know too much about your future, all this stuff. And then he's like, destroy the time machine. And then he's like, oh, you know what? I thought about it. I just decided to build a new time machine.
This time out of a train, and it flies.
Yeah, which seems like it would be more inconvenient,
Yeah,
but I
because it's
mean,
massive.
yeah, and a lot like harder to hide.
Yeah. Oh, Doc.
Yeah. And oh, but here's the thing though too, because this is infamous with the ending in the first one. So of course, the Doc being kind of the douchebag that he is,
Mm,
he doesn't come back to the future and be like, "Oh, Marty, I've got so much to share with you. Let's like hang out for a couple days and I'll tell you what's happened." He's like, "Nope. Hey, Marty, I've only got like 5 minutes because I have to get going. Even though I basically can control time however I want. So here's a
yeah.
picture. I'm gonna head out now. See you later, dude."
Yeah, basically, he's like, okay, I'm in a rush here, Marty. I gotta go. But Doc, you got a time machine. You got all the time in the world. Okay, bye. He just
Yeah.
takes off.
Oh man, it's just like I mean, I guess it fits with the character Doc Brown, but also at the same time, it's like, come on, like you guys know that.
Yeah.
Like he doesn't have to do anything.
I don't have time for you, Marty. Doc, you got a time machine. Bye. He just like slowly backs into his train and takes off.
He's like, oh, what
Uh,
was that? I hear my phone ringing in the other room. Ring, ring. You just made that noise with your mouth. No, I didn't. Gotta go. Bye.
what's that? Oh, my son needs me. I have to attend my brother's funeral. I think we have a Family Guy reference every episode we do.
Probably.
Um, man. Anything else to talk about? You want me to do trivia and facts?
I think that's it. If I miss anything, I'll try to bring it up with my final thoughts. So,
Oh, I forgot I had two more quotes that I laughed at. Um, when Mad Dog challenges Marty to a duel, and Marty's ancestors telling him like, you need to control your temper. I had a brother, blah 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 blah, going on and on and on. Like it's gonna ruin you. So he's trying to like play it off and like not gonna fight you. And everybody he's like, what are you, yellow? And the g- the guy with the funny voice is just like, everybody out there will say that Clint Eastwood is the biggest yellow belly in the West. That made me laugh.
yeah.
And then when they're trying to get Doc out of the bar after he passed out from one drink, Um, and a whole thing with giving him the wake up juice that was stupid.
Oh yeah.
Uh, but they're like, "Oh, we gotta get out of here." Marty's like, "You got a back door in this place?" And the guy's like, "Yeah, it's in the back." That also made me laugh. But I think my only real issue with this movie is that I don't know, it didn't feel fully like a Back to the Future movie. And
No,
at times, it spent too
no.
much time in the Old West, I think.
Well, I don't think that that was too much of a problem. Um, I liked that it had more adventure to it,
Yeah,
especially more than the second one. Like the second one just seemed like they were all over the place a little bit by going to the future, to the past, revisiting the past that they had already seen, and rehash a lot of things that you already saw in the first
yeah,
one. This one was a little bit more clean and cut and dry, but more adventurous because it's the old west. But yeah, it was still missing something. I don't quite know exactly what it was. But I mean, again, if you're just kind of comparing it to the other ones, especially the first one, it's nearly impossible to try to match that.
yeah, I totally agree. All right, now trivia and facts.
Rock.
So when filming the scene where Buford Mad Dog Tannen tries to lynch Marty, Michael J. Fox was accidentally hanged, rendering him unconscious for a short time.
Oh my
He
god.
actually recorded that in his biography. It was
Oh,
called Lucky Man, and it came out in 2002.
oh man.
Yeah. Clint Eastwood was asked for permission about his name being used for Marty in the film. He consented and said that he was tickled to be by the homage. So he was all about it.
I wish he had a
Marty,
cameo, man.
right? He should have. That would have been cool. Marty uses a Frisbee's pie plate to knock the gun out of Mad Dog's hand. In 1871, the Frisbee Pie Company started in Connecticut. Their pie pans were thrown on the campus of Yale, which eventually led to the invention of Frisbees.
Hmm.
This was another example of Marty introducing something into the timeline earlier than its official invention, and thus the original inventors the idea to make them. Um, like Back to the Future, where he has the soapbox cart turned into a skateboard,
Yeah.
and then unknowingly giving Chuck Berry the inspiration for the song Johnny Be Good.
Hmm.
According to the book, Billy Gibbons' rock and roll gearhead, ZZ Top was hanging around the set and was asked to be the town band. During one take, the camera broke. While waiting for the camera to be repaired, Michael J. Fox asked if they would play the song Hey Good Lookin', which they did. Afterwards, more requests played. 2 hours later, someone inquired if the camera had actually been repaired. Robert Zemeckis said that it had been fixed for quite a while. He just didn't want to stop the party that had like, evolved, which is kind of funny.
That's cool.
So Tom Wilson, who plays Mad Dog, performed all of his horse riding stunts himself.
Oh, wow.
He also did the trick where he lassos Marty just before he meets Doc in 1885.
So basically, he tried to kill Michael J. Fox.
Basically,
Good job.
probably got tired of being asked if Michael J. Fox is a nice guy. So when Doc and Marty are in the drive-in preparing for the DeLorean for the trip, to 1885, Marty mentions Clint Eastwood. Doc replies, "Who?" Like I said, um there's a movie poster in the drive-in's wall showcasing Revenge of the Creature and Tarantula, containing some of the first film appearances of young, then unknown Eastwood. Marty even looks to briefly points to the poster and says to Doc, "That's right, you haven't heard of him yet."
Hmm.
So the 1885 time setting was partially due to the suggestion of Michael J. Fox, who had commented to producers how he's always thought it would be fun to act in a Western.
And the fact that he was in a western, but he was like from the future, and then the other character that he played in the western was some Irish little farmer guy.
Yeah,
So he didn't really play a full-fledged cowboy.
no. So actor and former President Ronald Reagan was originally approached to play the part of Mayor Hubert because of his fondness for the first movie in the trilogy,
Mm,
he reluctantly turned down the role, and the part was given to Hugh Gillian instead. Um, had Reagan appeared, it would have marked his first appearance in a film in nearly 30 years.
mm.
The saloon in 1885 Hill Valley is the same location as Lou's Cafe in 1955, the gym in 1985, and the Cafe 80s in 2015.
I thought it was.
Yeah. Dude, I don't know if I mentioned this in the other movies, and I can't believe I didn't. Did you realize that Hill Valley is just the same place as Kingston Falls and Gremlins?
No,
It's the same lot.
no, I did not realize that.
So like the movie theater, the bell tower,
I
or
don't
not
know
the
if
bell
I've
tower, the
even
clock.
seen the whole entire movie of Gremlins,
Oh my
so
gosh, we're gonna have to watch that sometime.
I know I figured you're
But
you'd
yeah,
get
like
there.
watch like the opening shot of Gremlins and you'll see like, oh my God, that's Back to the Future. But, so a horse dealership in 1885 is owned by the Statlers. In Back to the Future, there's an ad on the radio for Statler Toyota in 1985, and a 1955 Statler Motors Studebaker is visible near the town theater.
Hmm, that's funny.
The death of Michael J. Fox's father delayed filming of this movie for 2 weeks.
Mm.
The name on the manure wagon in 1885 reads A. Jones. In Back to the Future, the first one, the name on the manure truck from 1955 read D. Jones. The role of Clara Clayton was written specifically for Mary Steenburgen. And the last thing I got is this movie had a $40 million budget and it made 245 million in the box office.
245.
Yeah.
Okay. So it had the same budget as the last one, it looks
Yeah.
like. Interesting.
Essentially, yeah.
Hmm.
So, grades. IMDb, Rotten Tomatoes. What are they?
IMDb 7.2.
7.5.
Ooh, okay. Rotten Tomato critic 60%.
79.
Oh
Higher
wow.
than the last movie.
Interesting. Rotten Tomato audience 80%.
78.
Okay.
And what about you?
Um, so it's it was a fun movie, a lot more adventure. They kind of branched out and did um their own thing. I appreciated it more from the standpoint that I didn't feel like they were repeating a lot of the same jokes like you got in part 2 after the first movie.
Hmm.
But none of them really I don't know how you would say it in the first one. None of them really wowed that much. I mean, it was fun. It was good. It showed what this storyline could have been. This storyline would have been amazing for something kind of like, do you remember crap, Quantum Leap?
Yeah, with Scott Bakula.
Yeah. Like how great would have been to have a show for Back to the Future.
They had a cartoon.
Yeah. Well, I mean that's a little bit different though. But yeah, like I feel like this movie just showed what a TV show the potential kind of could have been. Like they could have done so many different things. Obviously, I mean, there are a lot of different factors in there and everything, but I appreciated it because it was fun and everything. It's just like part 2 was not the same as the original movie, which I mean, you have to kind of expect. I don't really think that there was anything necessarily bad with it though. It's not a strong movie, and definitely by itself it would not be that great. But looking at it for what it is and being a part of the series and everything, I still think it was solid. I put it kind of at the same level as part 2, so I landed at a 4 out of 5 again.
Rock.
So
Yeah, I meant the same. where you're at. I gave it a 4 out of 5. I like part two better. Um, like I said, there's times where I kind of forget I'm watching a Back to the Future movie with this one, but it doesn't mean that it's a bad movie.
Mm-hmm.
It's still pretty enjoyable. It's got some funny stuff in it. The acting's pretty good. Um, I felt like some of the characters might have been a little bit pointless, but like Clara,
Yeah.
I don't, that whole thing, like, she was not a fleshed out character very well. She's hardly in it, but she's meant to be like a main character. I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
It's a little strange. It's like when you watch a sequel to a movie and like one of the main characters from the first movie just seems to be gone.
Yeah.
Or like that season of Stranger Things where like the kids got split up and they were never like fully all together and it just felt weird.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, it's kind of like that, where they kind of like hyped her up to be, like the third wheel, but like she's barely ever in it, which is
Mm-hmm.
strange. But yeah, I think a 4 out of 5 is pretty solid for it. Like, this is a trilogy where you can watch all three, and you'll probably admit that the third one's the lesser of the bunch, but it's still pretty good.
Yeah.
Kind of like Indiana Jones, where like all three of those, the original trilogy, were all pretty good. But like Temple of Doom is probably the lesser of the bunch,
Mm-hmm.
but still enjoyable.
Wasn't Temple of Doom like the second one though,
Yeah,
technically?
that was the second one. Last Crusade was good though.
Yeah.
But
Sean Connery saved that series. No, I'm just kidding.
yes,
But he did do great.
yes. But yeah. So that is wrapping up the Back to the Future series. But we got one more week left, so we're gonna do something we haven't done in a little while. And we're gonna do an actor highlight episode. And I figure since we're doing Back to the Future, we might as well do an actor highlight for Michael J. Fox.
Rock.
So looking forward to that. We haven't done that in a while.
Dude, I think the last time we did that was like February, March of 22.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Oh no,
Dang, I didn't think
well, it was
24 probably, right? No, 23, I mean.
well, because I'm looking through our list and usually I kind of have them like marked a little differently. The last one that I see actually was a little bit later in the year, but was Robin Williams.
Hmm. Oh, when we did What Dreams May Come?
Yeah. And I don't see any more after that.
Huh.
I could be wrong, but usually I
Well,
mark them.
Rock. Yeah. So something we haven't done in a while. So if you guys never heard one of those, I can go back and listen to some of the other ones we've done. Man, did we do
Uh,
Jackie Chan?
Robin Williams, Jamie Lee Curtis, Jackie Chan, Sylvester Stallone, Harrison Ford, Arnold Schwarzenegger, Keanu Reeves,
Yeah.
Dwayne The Rock Johnson, John Candy, and I think that, Van Damme,
Rock.
and I think that might be it.
Yeah, I don't think we did a Stallone one, did we?
No, we did. It was if I didn't mention that,
You probably did.
that was back in 21 when we
Okay.
did Judge Dredd and some other action movies.
Rock. Oh, yeah. Now I remember. But yeah, if you guys haven't heard any of those, go back and listen to those and prepare for next week when we cover Michael J. Fox's career. Um, if you want to follow us on social media, we're on pretty much every platform. Go and check out the YouTube, check out the TikTok while you still can. And until then, as always, be kind and rewind.